I'm now in my allotment neighbour's awesome polytunnel. It's so brilliant. And this is Mary. So Mary, I moved in next door to you last year, didn't I?
Lucky me.
Lucky me, looking at this as well. You've been an ace allotment neighbour already.
Okay.
So I just want to find out from you, how did you start gardening in the first place? When did it all begin?
Well, I'm quite old. I'm nearly 70.
That's not old.
Okay. Well, no, it's not old in gardening terms. Anyway, the point is, I started gardening. I feel like I've gardened all my life because I started gardening probably as soon as I could. Certainly, I wasn't as old as 5, really. I lived in the country, in Norfolk, in a village, and we had a big flower garden, front and back, and we had an allotment. So my father, who'd come from Paisley, a very inner city place, just loved the countryside. He married my mum, who was from Norfolk, and so he got into gardening. He learnt the hard way, you know.
The best way.
Yes, but he had, and he loved it. And of course, at that time, when I was young, in the early 50s, there was still rationing, so it was really important to grow. So my mum did the flowers and the fruit, he did the vegetables, and I pitched in. And interestingly, I was just saying to my friend Tracy here that by the time when I was even in my teens, which is probably unusual in a way, maybe not now, I asked my dad if actually I could have quite a large bit of the garden, probably the equivalent of allotments worth, so that I could have my own vegetable space, because I was really getting into vegetables, always been into flowers. And the other thing about growing is that all of us of that time had Brooke Bond tea cards, and we all learnt about wildflowers.
Really?
Had all of them. They were absolutely wonderful. So I knew every wildflower that was going. Still do, I think. Not in other environments, you know, habitats, but certainly Norfolk ones. And so I was just always really interested in
so right
gardening.
from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
What was really interesting, just something you said super quickly,
yes.
is you said that as a teen you thought maybe it was weird then that
yes,
you wanted to grow, but that's the same now, I think.
Is it? Because nobody else wanted to, but that didn't bother me because I just loved it. And what was interesting was when I went to high school, I was fortunate enough, I actually went to a boarding school, but the boarding school actually had a garden, a school garden, and they let me actually work in it.
Brilliant.
And so for cooking, I'd cook, like, you know, do rhubarb crumble, and I'd go and get the rhubarb. So you see, it was
brilliant.
Everything was very connected. So I've always been interested in plants. When I first moved to Norwich, which was in the 1970s, we had a small terrace and it just had a courtyard. So I then had an allotment on this site, which wasn't this one, but then fortunately what we were looking for was a house with a large garden, which is what we have now in Norwich, which to begin with I could grow vegetables in, flowers of course, but then gradually all the trees were growing up and the roots were coming in and it was unsuitable, so then I got this one, which was about 12-13 years ago.
Do you love it?
I love every minute of it. I love every minute of it, but it's not just about growing, which I love. It's about much more than that. It's about healthy food. So that's really important to me because I do eat fish, but I mainly eat vegetables, so that's important. You grow the varieties you want, you pick them straight here and they go straight home, and there is no comparison whatsoever. I can make whole meals out of things that are on my plot, which is amazing. It's the community on an allotment is just second to none. I've not been well, and wherever I go, people are stopping me and asking me. When I was seriously not well, people were queuing up to water my plot and to weed and to do things. It's just fantastic, and I would imagine it's like that in most gardening communities.
Yeah.
There's something really special about it.
There is, I completely agree.
Because I think if you're someone who loves plants and this sort of thing, there's a nurturing thing. So people have that in them, that nurturing way of thinking.
Couldn't agree more.
So, you know, I think it's great. So, you know, a lot of we were just talking about, Tracy said, what sort of people come up here, and it is a mixed bag. She was wondering if most of them retired, and they're not. It goes through phases, but I would say half are retired, and, you know, it's something nice and calm to do. Some people come up here because they're lonely.
Yeah.
And that is
and they
the
want to be
reason.
included in the
They want to be
community.
included in the community. They're not really coming, but then they get into the gardening in this sort of smallish way. Some people come up here because they have small gardens, and they can actually have a climbing frame up here. They can have a little lawn up here, and you know, and then the children get involved in it, which is fantastic.
So many reasons.
There's just loads of reasons, you know. So it's great, and we all mix in, and we all help each other and share. That's really
important. All about sharing.
Yes, because we do that, don't we?
We do.
And
Your raspberries are the nicest raspberries ever.
So that's all good. So everything's positive about an allotment. There's just nothing negative whatsoever.
That's right. Do you have any allotment gossip though? What's the gossip on the plot? What are your neighbours like?
They are a mixed bag. They really are.
A mixed bag of lettuce leaves.
Or a mixed bunch, yeah. They are really, because they're all quite different, and you know, we'll all have our little moans and groans about weeds coming over and this and that and all the rest of it. But by and large, they're really interesting, and we look after each other. So I don't, you know, we all have a kind of a love-hate relationship with the allotment officer, because sometimes they don't let us do what we'd like to do, or you know, they've got a very busy job to do, so that's a bit hard. But no, it's
all good.
It's all good. It's really positive, and that's the great thing, isn't it? It keeps you calm. It keeps you relaxed, even though it's hard work. Because that's the other thing we didn't even talk about. It keeps you fit.
Yeah. Physical exercise, keeping you moving.
I know lots of people up here who are well into their 80s, and they're still riding bikes, and they're doing all their plots, and their plots at least as big as mine.
Yeah.
So
amazing, really.
It's
I've got to
fantastic.
just say, the best thing is you've got a tiny little spider hanging off your hand as I'm chatting with you. It's a hat coming down and then picking back up and coming back down again, just there. And that's allotmenteering for you.
It certainly is.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So we're here on plot 286 B and C with Paula, and we're going to find out the real story behind allotments, because you haven't had a good day, have you?
No, I've found that I came yesterday and my broccoli was all covered in caterpillars.
Oh.
And I don't like killing them either.
Yeah.
You're learning all the time, really. Allotment law. I'll know for next year that you need to net the broccoli always, but you also need to give it a lot of space, because the cabbage white butterflies, they can, if the plant is pressing against the netting, then the cabbage whites they're really they're real hunters, and they will find a way, you know, they'll lay the eggs through the netting, which is what happened. So we just had to make a bigger space for the broccoli.
So can you save the broccoli?
I'm not sure.
Not
it's
sure.
sort of hanging in the balance.
And so you're passing knowledge with other allotment holders?
Yeah.
To learn how to prepare differently in the future, I
Yes,
guess.
you do.
Yeah.
You learn a lot. This is only my second year, so
And what have you had the most success with last year and this year so far?
I had a great success with chard.
Okay.
That
Nice.
was going all through the summer, and it was really hot summer, wasn't it? But I learned
So it didn't bolt?
No,
good.
no, it's very robust. I discovered. I was watering it loads, but in actual fact, it only needs watering every week.
Cool. And how did you use it in the kitchen? Because I get in the kitchen, a bunch of chard. I'm not sure what to do apart from a stir fry.
Well, you can use it for anything that you would use spinach for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just boiling, maybe braising, kind of frying with a
sorts
little
of
butter.
things. Yeah.
My
You could-
grandma made a cheese and chard pie once, actually. It was
Yeah,
delicious.
lovely. I put it in smoothies
Oh, okay.
for a
Really?
really healthy smoothie.
And it doesn't affect the flavour too much?
No, not too bad.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you. And of course now it's starting to rain. Good thing or bad thing? It depends if you're down here working, I guess.
Yeah, good thing, good thing. I mean, it was just a better year this year. More easy, but not so much sun. I really like growing the sweet corn. I really find them really sort of spectacular to
Okay.
grow, and they get the tassels.
Yeah.
I think they're beautiful things.
I used to grow it when I was a kid, but I found it difficult to tell the right time to harvest it. And I was always
Yeah.
too soon, but maybe I was just
No, I
impatient.
missed it. That's another thing you learn. You have to not go away.
Yeah, true, actually.
because I just went away in September when the sweet corn came, so the rats got it. But,
So you missed out. So you're either missing it or you got a glut.
yeah.
That's the world of
Yeah.
allotments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Yeah.
Now I'm here with Ninny, who's got the most beautiful allotment. The dahlias are so gorgeous. How long have you been here for?
I've been here since last January,
Okay.
and it was a pretty bare plot. And yeah, after about nearly 2 years of work, it's pretty fruitful this year.
It gets there, and sometimes when new people take on allotments, it can be really overwhelming, can't it? Because they're generally really overgrown.
Should we say last year not much happened, this year a lot's happened. So yeah, it's a you can see it's a part-time job essentially.
Wow.
When you took the plot over, like, were you already into gardening, or was it something you just decided to do?
I've always been interested. There's a programme called the Victorian Kitchen Garden back in the late 80s that I was fascinated by as a kid, and I love Victorian kitchen gardens, the Georgian kitchen garden. So, and I'm also a chef, so to be honest, it just works well for me.
So all what you're growing, you can
So
eat.
it's all about
sorry.
seed to plate, basically. I worked backwards and I looked to source stuff that is not that easily available in the shops, and it's all about getting better quality rather than quantity. I'm half Japanese, so I've got a lot of Japanese vegetables. You know, you can't get better from cutting your own veg in the afternoon and eating it in the evening. So, and cutting flowers in the morning and taking them home. So, it's all about just quality basically, and it's quality of life. It's not just about growing stuff.
That's so
it's
cool.
more about you know, mental health, also just being outside. Very few places in Norwich you get a full horizon. You know, so getting vitamin D, just exercise. It's all just brilliant for people basically.
That you've just literally summed up everything in just those few sentences. But I'm really excited to hear what you've got growing here. So what kind of stuff have you got going on?
Okay, I've got everything from probably about nearly 10 varieties of tomatoes to Swiss chards, new potatoes. So I've got Anya potatoes and shallots. Had lots of rhubarb. I've got a lot of Japanese pumpkins at the moment, so they're all in there and some over there. I've got sweet corn on the go, cucumbers, calabrese broccoli, sprouting broccoli, kales, Brussels sprouts, cabbages. Yeah, it's pretty productive.
It's amazing how much you can fit into this kind of space, isn't it?
Yeah, and we only started with half a plot, so.
And how do your allotment neighbours kind of, you know, because you haven't got the same colour hair as them.
So,
if you get my drift.
yeah, of course. Well, the average age is a little bit older than myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, with age comes knowledge. So you've got a wealth of
you
people
respect their
surrounding
knowledge,
you, and it's a lovely community. And you interact with people you don't necessarily interact with in normal life. Like John, who's next to me, used to have this plot. So I can ask him anything about what used to be grown here. So for crop rotation, that's really useful. Or just any, you know, he's been growing, he's I think in his late 70s. He's been growing since he was like 13. So he's got
All of that knowledge.
all that knowledge. So you just, you know, you have the internet, you have books, but there's nothing better than speaking to people who've actually done it.
Reality.
And especially people.
And on this land as
And
well.
on this land as well, because every spot is unique.
Yeah.
So no, it's great. It's a wonderful community to be involved in.